pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Board Clerk, can we have a roll call?
Director Alma Green.
Here.
Director Mary Belfay.
Here.
Secretary Steve Rodwick.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Jen Goodland. Here. And Chairperson Robert Anderson.
Here. I'd like to welcome guests. And are there any in attendance that would like to address any items not on the agenda? No one online?
No one online, Director.
Thank you. With the board's approval, we'd like to skip consent and jump down to item 5.1, old business. All right, Dan.
All right. Yeah, we have a couple of really great updates from partners today. So very interested to hear our partners from Paradise Community Center, our long awaited sharing of information. They have looks like some great props around the room for us to look at, and will give us an update. So happy to turn it over to you guys.
I was going to ask, would you repeat the instructions, please? Good evening, and in case you forgot, it is Valentine's Day. We're all happy, right? But thank you for inviting us. And I'd like to introduce at least the members of the board who could make it tonight. And I'm Connie Wright, I'm the president of the board. And with us we have Doug Runkle, who is one of the directors, and then beside him is Jen Keller, who is our treasurer, and in the back somewhere is Mike Shores, who is one of our directors, and we have two members who are the directors, officers, who could not attend tonight. Okay, and what we're going to do is we have a brief informative presentation to give, and Mike is going to do that. And then once we get the presentation, I have a packet that I'm going to give to each of you that will probably answer all of your questions. Okay, so Mike, are you ready?
Director, note on technology tonight. The folks inside the room are going to be able to see the PowerPoint presentation, but the Zoom's not going to be able to pick it up for you out there. We will upload the presentation for you to be seen live. And maybe, thank you, Dan. Dan's going to go ahead and give you a live cam version of it from the projector tonight. Thanks, Dan. And we'll still go ahead and upload the files.
Yeah, pretty welcome. Go ahead and start going through it. Mike, it's your commentary.
That's the end of the slideshow.
I'm going to pass out a packet for each of you, and it's very brief and to the point in facts. And on each side, if you'll notice, I tried to, okay, it was done by the kindergarten group. But we tried to make it brief, and this is what we want you to know, and it's the facts. So we do have other appointments. The rest, we do have to leave, but we wanted you to know that you're free to contact us if you have additional questions. At any time, feel free to contact us, okay? And we thank you for your time and attention.
Do you have
Appreciate
time,
it.
do you have time for one question? Because I know Director McGrean looks like he has one.
I'd like to ask just one question, if I may. I mean, I appreciate this and I will study it diligently. Where are you at this point in time as an organization as far as the rebuild is concerned?
Well, I think you'll see in your packet, there's, on one side is where it says we're meeting the needs of the community.
Right.
It will show you our drawings. It's our layout, of our building. And what you want to know is like, when is it going to go up?
No, I want to know, do you have somebody engaged already that's not engaged
Absolutely.
on the construction plans, but on board to design the construction?
We have the architect.
Okay,
Find that in your packet.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
All right, let us return to the consent agenda. Happy Valentine's.
Yes, thank you for coming, folks. We really appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone in attendance who would like to have any items on the consent agenda removed and heard separately?
Yes, I'd like to pull item 3.1 A and B.
We have a motion for 3.2 and 3.3.
I motion to approve the items 3.2 and 3.3 on consent.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call?
Director Al McGrean,
Aye.
Director Mary Belfay,
Aye.
Secretary Steve Rodwick,
Aye.
Vice Chairperson Jen Goodlin, Chairperson Robert Anderson.
Aye.
Motion carries with 5 ayes. And then I'm gonna just go through a couple corrections that were made after 3.1 A and B were posted. On January 11th, I put Roberts instead of Robert at the very top. And then I needed to remove vice chairman and just put chairman in the title right below 1.3. And then in the adjournment paragraph, I also needed to change Chairperson Roderick to Anderson. And on the January 18th minutes, I needed to correct Lyons, Lions to Lyons. And those were the corrections.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the corrected minutes as presented. She meant January 10th, I'm sure. She
Hmm?
said the 11th, but she meant the 10th.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. I wrote the 11th, but on the minutes, it says the 10th. I just wrote the 11th on my post-it note. Did I not?
Well, it says adjourn to the next regular board meeting, January 10th. The next regular board meeting would be February 14th.
Oh, okay, then I'll correct that as well.
All right, that brings us to new business.
Well,
We need a motion.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Chair, again, I move that we approve the corrected minutes as presented and further corrected by the chair.
Second.
Do we have a roll call vote?
Director Alma Green,
Aye.
Director Mary Belfay,
Aye.
Secretary Sue Rodwick,
Aye.
Vice Chairperson Jen Goodland, and Chairperson Robert Anderson.
Aye.
Motion carries with 5 ayes.
Now that brings us to new business. Item 6.1.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just another happy to report update from partners with Patch. We have David with us here tonight. I just want to make a correction on the report and in the annotation that should say December 2020. So that was the first MOU that we had with a consortium of different partners to kind of explore some things. David and his team did a nice job just corralling some of the ideas and desires of the group, and kind of came up with some actions since then. So, I think that has progressed to the point where they're looking at potential locations and what the partnership mechanism might look like for facility and just programs. We had a couple of meetings and some back and forth on what that proposal might look like. So we kind of have an evolution that's reflected in tonight with the MOU that's attached. And the idea is basically this, 3 parts to it. So the deliverables will be coordinate and collaborate on events, which I think is very important. They do a great job on the number of events they provide. And I think some coordination between our 2 organizations or numerous organizations will be very good for the community and strengthen our partnership as we work on other tasks. The other tasks are create a feasibility report on the partnership and look at kind of like mechanisms on how do we interact, what type of legal mechanism is going to work best for us. And then thirdly, come back with a joint report on what those efforts are and any follow-up recommendations at that point. So the term of the agreement concludes with December in 2025, gives us enough time to explore some things. There were a number of mechanisms that we looked at the beginning process, and each one has its advantages and disadvantages, pros and cons on funding or long-term management, maintenance, that type of thing. And so I think it just to kind of put it this way, it seems like it's time to kind of roll up our sleeves, so to speak, and sort of see what that looks like. David is here with the update, and I think that is loaded and ready to go. Scott, are you able to share that?
Same note, we're going to have it in room
Okay.
for tonight.
I want to thank the PRPD board for inviting me tonight. I do have a slide deck with way too many slides, so I'm going to have to get through it fairly quickly. This is our progress report, and this is basically a distillation of a longer report that was presented at a summit in October with all of the boards participating. We've come a long way, baby. This patch process has led to a lot of progress, but each one of our organizations have come a long way. And I think this is good background for the board to know about. So very briefly, the Gold Nugget Museum, we know they've been in the habit of putting on every chance they get the Gold Nugget Days. The very first one was in 2019. That year, they did a whole lot beside Gold Nugget Days. 2020, also just a whole bunch of accomplishments that year. We had to cancel Gold Nugget Days that year because of COVID. Next year, we were able to put it back on again. Lots of COVID challenges, but more progress made in Gold Nugget Museum reestablishing. This is a design that you'll see in the lower right corner. That's the old campus of the Gold Nugget Museum. They had Melton Design Associates visualize what it would look like to put the rest of Patch on that campus. So there's a performing arts center you'll see and some other things. This was just early ideas in 2021, thinking through what would it look like for us to collaborate on a common campus. And because they were there at 475 Pearson, they just visualized that as the location. 2022, again, another Gold Nugget Days and more accomplishments in the year. 2023, once again, what a great participation we had last year. I think north of 5,500 people were in the audience for Gold Nugget Days Parade last year. If you haven't yet gone to the gnmuseum.art, that's actually like a .com.art/support. I invite you to do that. There's this great presentation on a visualization of what it would look like to have a Nuggetville there at the new campus for the Gold Nugget Museum. I invite you to visit that website so you can see it for yourself. It takes a couple of minutes. Norton Buffalo Hall is actually the first of our collaborating organizations to have put on a community event after the campfire. In that first year after the campfire, we put on a number of events. It was our way of convening our community, keeping us glued together. In 2019, at the end of the year, we put on a big event at the PPAC. That was the Joy Will Find a Way event, which included 150 artists, 22 different acts, all kinds of arts organizations. All of the current Patch collaborators were participants in that event. And then, of course, we had COVID come along in 2020, so we had to cancel much of what we had in the season. We made a film out of that Joy Will Find a Way event from 2019, and we presented it in 2020 down at Merriam Park Drive-In. Again, that's an early Patch collaboration. Norton Buffalo Hall has been focused on Patch mostly since that time, and so we've put on a number of events with Patch, and we'll give them the credit for that stuff. You'll recall that Radioland Paradise returned to Theater on the Ridge as the first community event here on the Ridge after the campfire, and they've been going strong ever since. 2019, a full roster, 2020, and they participated. This is them at the Joy Will Find a Way event. 2020. Again, they had to, like the rest of us, cancel activities because of COVID. That was some significant downtime, but they got back at it in 2021, had a problem with a big leak in the facility there, which led to some repairs, but they got back in the rhythm of presenting in 2022, and they've been going strong ever since. This is a remarkable organization and a gem to have here on the Ridge. Yes, they added a new generator and improved with new curtains. There's a great season underway this year. You should definitely get out and see some of the shows. I wanted to highlight this. Theater on the Ridge puts on 88 performances per year. And that's 3 or 4 rehearsals every week during the course of the year. So imagine all of that activity if we were to put that on a campus in the walkable downtown, what that would be in terms of driving traffic to a single location in our town. That's a very exciting, and I was impressed by this volume of cultural offerings that they've been giving us. Paradise Arts Center has made a significant rebound. Prior to the campfire in 2018, they had 167 memberships, and now they've got north of that and more than 200 members. They have just been hot to trot ever since the 2019, participating widely in community events. They've got an arrangement with Nick's. There's a gallery of original artworks presented every month, curated by Paradise Art Center, all original art from here on the Ridge. Lots and lots of classes and workshops being offered, 7 classes, 4 open studios every week, huge Facebook following, lots of displays, exhibits in the Wheeler Gallery. If you haven't visited Paradise Arts Center, I encourage you to drop by. They are a magnificent local arts organization, and they are teaching the ways of art. The pottery classes, watercolor classes, oil paints, pastels, you name it. If it's visual arts, they do it. 8 classes a week, 5 open studios per week, 167 memberships, lots of gallery shows at Nick's. They've done 33 gallery shows so far at Nick's with 910 works displayed. What a tremendous and powerful organization for our community. Drop by and see their new mural as well on the building. And Patch. Now, the conversation, you'll recall, started in 2019 between Gold Nugget Museum and Norton Buffalo Hall. It grew during the long-term community recovery planning process. The collaboration of Gold Nugget Museum and Norton Buffalo Hall was named as one of the projects that could make Paradise better. I love this image because that's Almond Street, and you'll see in the center of the image a Paradise Cultural Center. That was an artist's depiction of what that might begin to look like back then. So we're right there at the heart of the recovery plan. It is a Tier 3 partner-led designated project by the town. There is the original sketch of what our phases of getting to the endpoint would look like. We were very optimistic, and I think we undervalued what the costs were going to have to be that would be associated with that. We thought 0 to 5 years would be our timeline. We're past 5 years and just getting it together. So that's because we've all had a tremendous amount of work to do over the last 5 years to prepare for this moment. But the community embraced the concept of the collaboration, had tremendously positive feedback. And of course, we have been collaborating for quite some time now. We've engaged several community partners in the conversation over time. Now the remaining folks that have come together, and this is through the facilitation of Regenerating Paradise. The core participants are Gold Nugget Museum, Norton Buffalo Hall Foundation, Theater on the Ridge, and Paradise Arts Center. We have had the support of participation from one of your board members, Mary Belfay, during our process, and also from the Michoopta Indian tribe. So it's a well-supported process. December 2020 through March 15, 2021, we went through a rigorous process trying to identify all the ins and outs of a potential collaboration, at the end of which we said we can do it. So how do we do it? We spent 2021 researching some of those questions, looking at governance models, operational models, et cetera. It's a robust conversation. This is Bill Hartley's artwork. This is his first idea of what a space would look like that could fit the patch participants. One of the folks that, and that's my 1 minute warning, one of the folks that we spoke with in our process was the Conejo Recreation and Parks District. What a great organization they are. They've done quite a lot in, I've got to bring this back up now. They've done quite a lot in their process. This is down in Thousand Oaks. The city bought the land. The Conejo Recreation and Parks District partnered with them, I think, in building the buildings, and the Hillcrest Theater Center rents from them. And there's an ongoing lease that goes on. It's an interesting model. So it's public-private participation, but we've researched lots of other models as well. And we continue to do that, reaching out to lookalikes and cousins across the United States to find out how they did what they did, to figure out what we can do here. So 2022, we became an official 501c3 organization with bylaws and a chairperson and an official board, and we've been having meetings officially ever since. We've got a website up and Facebook. We've been receiving grants. We've been participating with the Chamber of Commerce in the Johnny Appleseed Days, helping to present the Paradise Pumpkin Patch there. We've been collaborating in shows under the Patchworks Paradise Arts Theater and Culture Hub Patchworks branding, just to raise awareness in the community of what we're up to. We've had world-class musicians come through performing at Theater on the Ridge and Monca and elsewhere. Last April, the town of Paradise called out Paradise Arts Theater and Culture Hub in a town proclamation, acknowledging our partnership in supporting the arts and creativity in Paradise as an essential part of rebuilding our community, and promoting unified support for the arts. We appreciate that encouragement. We have a fantastic letter of reference from the interim town manager, which I've been promised will be updated by our present town manager, Jim Goodwin. Had a nice meeting with him a couple of months ago. He's familiar with Patch, as are several of the other town staff with our project. We've continued to put on events last year. We've been applying for more grant funding out there, wonderful events. 2023 was a great year for Patch moving forward with branding in the community. We sent a letter out to property owners in the walkable downtown. We've been getting responses. There is interest on the part of some property owners in downtown Paradise in arranging a sale of their land to us. We need to grow that conversation. It's not like we have budget to buy anything at the moment. Move in that direction. Just did a couple of really great events recently, but we've got more ahead of us. I want to draw your attention to the Daffodil Dance and Duets, our second annual, which is happening on March 23rd at Veterans Memorial Hall. Again, that's just another consciousness raising opportunity here in the town of Paradise to brand the project and get it into the hearts of everyone. We've released our first quarterly edition of Patch News. If you haven't received, by the way, has everyone received a copy of Patch News? It was sent out by email last month. If you have not, please go to our website, paradisepatch.org, and you'll be able to sign up to receive the newsletter there. We'll keep you up to date. In 2024, moving forward, Patch is reviewing retaining paid staff commitments or contractors to do the work on Patch that needs to be done to move things forward. And that includes the bandwidth to collaborate with PRPD, should this board bless that opportunity. And we welcome the participation of Laura Kutsona, who's been, I'm sure you're aware of Laura, but she's worked with North Valley Community Foundation. She has her own consulting group, Goodwill Consulting. She'll be valuable in helping us identify the feasibility of getting this thing funded and the various ways that we can move forward as an organization. We have to grow ourselves up in order to reach this opportunity, but we're excited, we're enthusiastic about the possibility of working with PRPD in that effort. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And in all the research that we've done and all the other organizations and things that we've looked at, art is considered a recreation, just so you know.
Yeah, I just a couple of closing thoughts on this is that, you know, one of the things that we wanted to include in here was not only the facility part and the governance and the mechanism, but also give us a chance to, you know, it's an impressive list. If you look at the list of activities, and just want to applaud you and the groups for that. But it also gives us a chance to participate and share. I won't get into too much detail, but we're seeking some grant opportunities that may allow to help fortify and bolster some of those efforts. And so we're hopefully that will, when we come talk to you, if that gets works out. So anyway, just opens up some opportunities, I think, for collaboration and working out some things. Definitely recommend approval of the agreement. Be happy to answer any questions.
I have a couple of questions on the MOU. On the second page of the MOU, on the subject of term, well, it hasn't been said yet, but I assume that Patch and our staff at PRP are in agreement with the MOU. That wasn't stated, but I'm going to assume that. Why 30 days for notice? How was that agreed upon? Is there any magic number relative to 30 days?
You know, I think that is just been kind of a standard
Okay.
practice on our agreements. I can't recall if yeah, it's part of our template. Pre-approved
That's all I need to know. I think Patch is more amenable to operating it on a faster track anyway if they needed to, whereas governmental agencies oftentimes they need more. But if we can live with 30 days, I'm happy with that. The other question I have on item 3, feasibility report. Maybe this is just a grammatical question. The first sentence reads, before the expiration of the term of the MOU, Patch and PRD will compile the information required and develop a report to consider next steps, plural. I think we're talking about multiple steps, perhaps, rather than a next step. So I would just get rid of that little word a, if you don't mind.
Can you tell me what page that's on?
It's on page 14. You're on feasibility report, second line, where you see it says report to consider a next, and it says steps as plural. My guess is there'll be multiple steps, so you may want to just alter the language to reflect that grammatically. And then last but not least, on the last page of the MOU, page 15, where it talks about the main paragraph where it says, the main point of the report is to, maybe I'm just being wordsmithing here, but I apologize for that, but rather than say main point, how about the main objective of the report is to aid Patch and PRD to make informed decisions. That's just my suggestion. I'm not saying you have to agree, but I don't know if the rest of the board wants that or not, but point just seems, I don't know, different to me, whereas an objective is all encompassing for the two entities. Those are my suggestions. If the board concurs and staff concurs and Patch concurs, then I'm willing to entertain a motion, Mr. Chair. Mary.
I have one more back on page 14, which you were just talking about. My copy says a 30 May written notice
Yeah,
instead of a
that's a
30
typo.
day.
That's what's supposed to be day instead of
Yeah.
May. It's just a typo. I failed to point that out. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you for those.
Other than that, just my general comment, I'm frankly excited. I think the MOU is welcomed heartily, and I look forward to our agency working hand in hand with Patch. I think there's some great potentialities out there in a not too distant future.
I'll entertain a motion.
Do we have any public comments? Scott?
I move to approve the MOU with the changes and corrections noted.
Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
Director Al McGreen,
Enthusiastically, aye.
Director Mary Belfay,
I think I have to abstain, but if I don't, I'll say aye. Don't I have to abstain? Because I'm part of that board.
Are you sitting on the board itself, or are you a observer, and are you a voting member? So I think we often have liaisons to different organizations. And I would think unless you are a voting member on there, but I think that you, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you're on the board participating, giving us feedback, but not a voting member.
It's gonna pass
I'm gonna
anyway, so you
abstain.
could
I'm gonna
abstain.
abstain.
It's safe to abstain. Thank you.
Secretary Steve Rodwick,
Aye.
Vice Chairperson Jen Goodland, Chairperson Robert Anderson.
Aye.
Motion carries with 4 ayes and 1 abstain.
That moves us to item 6.2, cybersecurity policy. Dan?
Christie's going to lead
Christie?
our description on this, or our discussion on this. Thank you.
Good evening, directors. This policy is new to the district. We've not had one before. And I think it's a long time coming, frankly. It was something suggested to us by our insurance provider, Capri, as part of their regular every 18 months, they come on site and do kind of an overview assessment of the district facilities, our policies, procedures, all the little things that the insurance company really wants to scrutinize. This was in their list. And it was kind of a, oh, duh, yeah, we should have that. So staff did an investigation of different kind of templated security policies and made modifications based on district specifics. This had been brought to the board, I think it was in December of 2023 for consideration, but we had to pull it because there was some language that needed to be altered due to the our use of the Department of Justice for our live scan background checks. So we incorporated that language into this draft. I would suggest that this draft is, if it were to be adopted by the board, that it's something that we need to revisit on an annual basis, just because there's a constant evolution of new and different security threats. So it's going to be considered sort of a living document, but it would be brought back to the board at that time if, you know, if we were to make an update so that you could consider it for possible approval in the future. And with that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to help address them.
I have one. When I was with the county, one of the provisions of our data security policy was that any data containing device, whether it be a thumb drive or a CD or a floppy disk, if those are still around, they had to be pre-screened before you can put it in any district-owned equipment. It was a pain, to be sure, because we had a guest come in with a PowerPoint presentation. It had to be screened and for any virus or bad stuff. Is that, I didn't see that anywhere here in this policy, but have you looked into that?
No, sorry, no, but that's a good suggestion. No, but yes, I understand the need for that. I understand from my previous world working in the tech industry that people used to just leave USB drives in the parking lot and people would pick them up and say, oh, cool, you know, because they're in the tech world and probably should know better. But at the time, it was sort of a new fishing expedition. They could then load nefarious content onto one.
And that's how some
device.
companies tested the system. They planted those thumb drives there, and whoever employee put it in their computer were reprimanded.
Yeah, no, that's an important consideration and a really good example of, okay, so this policy's maybe already out, you know, could be revised to be improved. At the same time, I feel that if, you know, we could pile on new things, I could bring it back next month and there'd be something else. And my concern is that in not having anything at all, that we're more exposed to risk. So while I value that feedback, and I think it's really important and something to be implemented into this policy and probably a whole litany of other things. We did have the Computers Plus, which is our IT consultant for the district, review the policy. So, you know, but there's always something additional. So
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting we wait until we make a perfect policy, but yeah, this is food for thought.
yeah, I appreciate that. And any other additions that you recommend, I think it's something that, you know, we want to keep a running list and then bring it back maybe in this first year, even more regularly than annually, just so that we can incorporate things that are deficient.
I was just gonna, I think that's a really good suggestion. There's some things I think fit under practices that we probably just, you know, there's provisions here for staff training. And so I think some of those might be captured there, like something like that, I think is a great one to remind people and just be cautious of. I think it's really interesting as technology is kind of progressing. There's some things that, like you mentioned, like if we found a floppy disk in the parking lot, I don't know if any of our machines has a floppy disk reader. So, you know, there's a barrier there. Most of it's internet related, but I think those are good ideas and suggestions that we should share with staff. So.
I have a question. On the remote workers, do they have PRPD computers that they take back and forth from here to home, or are they personal computers that they take back and forth, or when they work from home?
It's mixed. So certain staff are assigned computers. We do have a couple of laptops that are available for staff. A lot of folks right now, if they're working from home, they're logging in on from their you know, home computer on that. There are measures in place for security on how you access our files. So there's, you know, it's as good as they can keep up with things. But, you know, that's an area that we have explored a little bit of discussion about maybe setting up a VPN, virtual private network, to access some of our files. But right now we utilize some commercially available options, and our Office server is separate from all of that. So it's a little bit more insulated than some of our files that may be shared with staff on the internet.
So they basically can access from their phone and their laptop and their computer all at home.
Yeah, but we did when using the Microsoft 365 and like our SharePoint, we have an authenticator. So like that was all of us did it. Like that is a level of security that like no one
Mhm.
can get into my Microsoft because I mean it's on my phone. Like my authenticator is on my phone.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a part of using commercially available stuff. There's always changes out there that can happen. And, you know, those that have, our emails, it was about 3 months for what it was shifted. So there was some items that shifted to higher security on that. So I think that'll just be with us forever.
No, I think this is a great idea, and I like the USB thumb drive, whatever you want to call it as well. Where I worked before, we had to get them from our IT person if we wanted to use one to download anything and then move it or take it to a different place. They had to give us a special one, like I would do presentations at Sierra Nevada, and I would have to get the USB, go to my computer, download what I needed, go over there, and then take it back, and they, you know, so it was a good thing, though. Okay, great, thank you.
All right, can we get a motion? Do we have any public comment?
No, Director.
All right, now can we get a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the cybersecurity policy.
Oh. Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call?
Director Alma Green,
Aye.
Director Mary Belfay,
Aye.
Secretary Steve Rodwick,
Aye.
Vice Chairperson Jen Goodland, and Chairperson Robert Anderson.
Aye.
Motion carries with 5 ayes.
All right. Where are we? That brings us to item 6.3. The agreement with Mercer Birch Law.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As our board and staff knows, that our longtime legal counsel, Jeff Carter, retired, announced his retirement. And then early in 2023, with an opportunity for us to continue some services with him, and we have used him since then, along with some other services. We also put out a request for proposal and distributed it pretty widely, and had 4 qualified applicants. We did a follow-up questionnaire, reviewed their information, and then conducted interviews. And we recommended from that ad hoc committee, Marcia Birch was very well qualified, came with good recommendations from the sources that we checked. And, you know, that's our recommendation, is to approve that agreement. And we do have a couple of changes in the agreement that I'll make a note of, making it consistent throughout the document. Client is shifted to district. Consultant is shifted through council. There's numerous places where that occurs. And the term will change from the date of February 1st to upon date of execution. Sarah does have, I think, the red line and revised versions. With that, what I would do, and we do have our Ms. Birch on the line, who can maybe share some of the experience with our board and audience members. But we would shift the recommendation to, instead of approve agreement, authorize district manager to complete agreement. And that allows us to do some changes instead of the agreement as presented. Marcia, are you prepared to share with us a little bit of background.
I'm happy to. Dan, can you hear me?
Yes, very well. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yes, so I'm happy to share a little background. I don't want to belabor it. I know we went over that in the committee. I do have a significant amount of experience doing general counsel work. I've been doing that for about, about 22 years. I started with a firm in Sacramento and I did general counsel work for the Glen Colusa Irrigation District. And today I do most of my general counsel work for the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. And I have one LAFCO. I represent the Mendocino LAFCO. And I do some additional work for other LAFCOs in the state when their counsel is unavailable. So I have some small districts, fire districts, very small irrigation districts. Yeah, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has about my experience or about the contract.
Marcia, I don't know if you caught the changes that I noted. I just wanted to see if those might be agreeable to you.
Yeah, those are fine. Yeah, that's just, making it consistent throughout, and that makes sense.
Just a general question. Who did the legal review? Was it Jeff?
The review?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, actually it was staff and two of our board members sat in on the interviews.
No,
But-
the legal review of the actual agreement.
Oh. Yeah, it was our original template,
Okay.
Yeah,
So
we
it's
had
been
used-
pre-reviewed.
pre-reviewed,
Okay,
yeah,
got
with some minor changes in it. So we're hopefully very confident that it all works out. As soon as we get legal counsel on board, we can have a thorough review on it. But yeah, it was a pretty simple process for us. I'll mention one concept that came up that maybe we could discuss or look at a different point. Was that there is an opportunity for us if we choose to seek a backup counsel, and maybe they specialize or we're utilizing them for things such as real estate transactions or something like that. Just gives us a little bit deeper bench in case that occurs. And that was agreeable to both Marcia and then Sac Valley Law, who we might look into for that. But we certainly just wanted to kind of get this underway. We have a lot of upcoming reviews of contracts and business of the district that we'd like to get Marcia going on. So recommend authorization. Happy to answer any questions.
I do have one question. Great job on finding someone. And Marcia, I'm glad you're willing to work with the district. I don't remember what the previous attorney was being paid. Is this comparable? Is this going to affect the budget in a different way?
Offhand, I do not remember the rates on that. Oftentimes, and we'll let Marcia maybe address that, but I know that a lot of times when we're looking at rates, it's a multiplication, right? So the rates may be concerning, but with a more experienced legal counsel, you're going to have less research. You're going to have a more focused time that's available. And so that's something that we certainly need to examine and look at. This is a relatively short term agreement for us to check out each other and see how it works. I think that there's a chance here for us to see how that all plays out. Marcia, I don't know if you have any responses to that.
Well, no, I would just say that you make an excellent point, which is when you have experienced counsel. I mean, this is my public agency rate, which is, less than my private rate. And I've been doing public agency work for a long time. So I keep my rates, in line with what is, happening in the industry at the moment. I do review public contracts every day. So it's something that I'm very familiar with. And there is definitely an efficiency factor that will come into play. And I feel like I think you will be pleasantly surprised in terms of the efficiency.
Sarah just reminded me that when we had, we kind of did a cost comparison of all the firms and with our past rate. And it was comparable. It was a different way that he charged it. But it was, all kind of in the ballpark of what looked to be, going rate for public agencies.
Is there any public comment?
I have a question. Oh, wait. No public comment. I'm just curious, there was several rec and park districts in the area that had the same council that we had who retired. Did they go with this person, or do you know, or if they went with, was there any discussion? I know everybody talked about what are we going to do now, but
I think it was mixed when we had talked to the other groups. And I had that information. This has been spread out over several months. So I had that information a few months ago. I don't now.
oh, okay.
All right.
Go ahead. Do we need to do public comment? Do we have any public comment?
Just double checking something, Director. No hands are raised, so you're good.
Can we get a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that the board authorize, I move that the board approve the agreement and authorize the district manager to final agreement as presented and discussed.
I'll second.
I thought we didn't want as presented. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
Director Alma Green. Director Mary Belfay.
I,
And Secretary Steve Rodwick.
Aye.
Vice Chairperson Jen Goodland.
Aye.
And Chairperson Robert Anderson.
Aye.
Motion carries with 5 ayes.
That moves us along to the district report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to be really brief tonight on this. We do have a few things that I wanted to have brought to your attention. A couple are, we have a corrected profit and loss that's out in front of you. One thing I wanted to mention about that for January. Couple of interesting
Excuse me,
things.
Dan.
Yes.
I'd like to thank Marcia
Oh, thank you, Marcia.
and let her get on with her night.
All right.
We'll definitely be in touch, Marcia.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so anyway, on the profit and loss, what I wanted to point out, we got some good revenue for us. So tax revenue, we have one of our installments put in. And I wanted to point out, I know this has been something, questions of the board and concerns, but we got a really substantial grant income, 181K. And so I think over the next few months, we'll start seeing that on a more regular basis. And I think that'll certainly help concerns about that lag that we've experienced so far with the state on reimbursements. Couple of quick things on upcoming meetings. We have a Yellowstone Kelly Trail design meeting coming up on March 8th. And a buffer project meeting next week here. And that should be regional wildfire resilience plan. Another correction I wanted to make was on underneath item 3, finance. Impact fees, B. There should be a complete number in there, 31,321.64 for the amount of impact fees that we received in January. Couple of things. I know there's a couple of projects and information. Mark Cobb provided some really good pictures in here, some activities on training, and also a new bike rack we have out in front of Terry Ash Rec Center. So maybe on a non-rainy day, that will be more in use. What I'd like to do is, there's questions on the report. We would certainly take them, but not go through them as detailed as we have in recent meetings.
Thank you, Dan. That brings us to
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Oh, go ahead, Mary. You had your hand up.
On item 4, park skating rink, you said the maintenance department is looking forward to working on the next winter programs that will be original to our area, figures 1 through 3. And I thought that was going to be a hint of what those programs might be, and it isn't. So I was wondering if you're going to give us a hint.
Yeah, I think 1 through 3 is just packaging those,
I know.
the old ice rink up. Maybe that's a teaser that wasn't quite fully laid out there, because I would like to see those pictures too.
Okay.
So we've had really so I'm going to put it on my computer here, so maybe it's recorded. Mary, could you repeat that, please? Yes.
And that I think is really cool that it's going to happen sooner rather than later, because it'll be a great addition to the pool area. And then the other thing is the baseball field's being flooded, and it says it's kind of hindered the beginning of baseball season. So has there been a lot of signups compared to previous years as far as people signing up yet?
Yeah, I think it's more from the teams that we're starting to get that interest. What we had a meeting the other day talking about rec programs, and I said that the first sunny day we have, be prepared for an onslaught of calls on why they can't get out on the field. And sure enough, I think it was Tuesday, Jeff told me they had about 9 calls, and it had just been, raining very recently. So we're in that time of season where people are thinking baseball, they want to get out, their kids need to get out, and yet the fields aren't ready for that.
Recording in progress.
Okay.
Okay, and then could you remind me again what DDS funding is in relation to the Friends in the Field program? What's DDS?
Scott,
I
why don't you
forgot.
take that?
I forgot. Doctor of Dental Surgery.
Department of Disability Services.
Thank you.
Scott, before we leave, I'd just like to share with my fellow board members, as part of the before we move on from the district report, the Elements program is a resounding success, and I attribute that to you and all your co-workers involved with the programs. A comment was made recently related to this program from my fellow board member on the finance committee, which was Steve Roderick. And Steve and I concur with him, we think that program is worth recognition statewide, the one that our district is doing, thanks to Scott and staff here. I'd like, and I think Steve's willing to do this with me, we'd like to volunteer as two members of this board to work with staff to maybe prepare an awards application to CARPD relative to this Elements program, because we're in our, what, third year now? Elements, or second year, but it's been, and this is not something that's going on throughout the entire state of California. So I think this is just me talking. I'm not saying staff, you got the time to do this, but I just want to share that this evening with the full board, that's where Steve and I are.
Right, and to continue on that, we know staff is buried, and what we are asking for, I think, and I think Director McGreehan would concur, if we can narrow you down and put you in a corner for 15, 20 minutes, get some raw data and testimonials and just some basic facts that we can create a narrative. Give us a thumb drive us on your best pictures, and we'll put in the package, we'll submit it. It'll be off your shoulders.
We are worried about the thumb drive.
We're worried about our thumb drive.
Whose thumb drive is this?
Yeah, that was a test, wasn't it?
Yes.
Let me share this. We have because of the reporting requirements, because of the proposal that we had to write, there is a lot of information that we could share with you without cornering any of our staff members, that we would be happy to share with you to get that started. And if there's follow-up questions, or I think importantly from this program, we have great pictures. We could have some testimonials. We could have some things that may fortify it, and we'd be happy to supply those.
And it won't take a lot, because the maximum we can submit is 1 page and 2 pictures. And we have till April 4th to do it.
Yeah, we'd be happy to work with you on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have any public comment on the district report?
No comments, Director.
Thank you. That brings us to board liaison report. Mary, anything?
I do not.
Steve?
Nothing from the county, and Paradise Lake is tippy top, pouring over the spillway, and probably by tomorrow morning it'll be 50 feet from the top at Oroville. Essentially full this time.
That's too high with all the rain we're getting. We need a bigger buffer.
I trust PWR.
Oh, you trust DWR after 20, okay. Jen? Al?
Yes, as all of you have grown accustomed to hearing from me, we have a regular Butte LAFCO meeting, usually the first Thursday of every month. So our most recent Butte LAFCO meeting was February the 1st, which was not that long ago. During the course of that meeting, key things that we address as agenda items, one was, in fact, I commented about this before this meeting took place at our last board meeting. We were presented, Butte LAFCO commissioners was presented the Paradise Irrigation District draft municipal service review document that was prepared by a consultant under hire to Butte LAFCO and PID. And we took testimony on that, and after all was said and done, I'm happy to report it was an excellent report, well received, and read it about the relationship of us with PID, as well as other key things of interest relative to PID's service capabilities. So we adopted it. Butte LAFCO did, so it's in place. And if you want to look at it, you can just go to Butte LAFCO's website, and the document's available there. Another item of interest that we dealt with was there was recently a special election primarily in the lower part of Butte County as it relates to the formation of a water district, which was be known as the Tuscan Water District. And the election was conducted and the results were announced by the county clerk's office. And then those announcements have to come back to Butte LAFCO because we were the ones that authorized the creation of this district. And our agenda item was to certify the election results as presented by the clerk, which we did. So that's underway. That district's afoot and they got a lot of work ahead of them. Last but not least, which we do on an annual basis, Butte LAFCO was asked to appoint a budget committee for the coming fiscal year, 24, 25. And what we do is we usually create a committee of 4 representatives from the commission itself to work with legal counsel and staff on the budget. And I'm one of the 4 commissioners on that. So that's all I have to report on that. During last week, despite the rain and everything, it was an open house, I think, at the Butte County Fire Safe Council facility. And I was really glad to see their new environs there. It was really worthwhile. I hope some of you take the time to drop in. It's very exciting to see all that's going on and with their staff and their equipment and their programs and so forth, some of which we coordinate with, I believe, with PRPD too. So that's it.
Thank you, Al. I have nothing as liaison, so that brings us to board comment.
I have a few things that probably could have done either way. First, I want you to know that your assistant district manager was the Venmo czar at the crab feed Saturday night. She brought her kids and she's never even done Venmo but one time. And she learned all about it on Saturday night and her kids were great as well. I was curious, how is it going with the offices across the street?
I think it's great. We'd love to have you come by, kind of get a vibe for it. We call it the fish bowl because there's so many windows and it's so bright in there. But it's vibrant, you know, it's all the rec staff that are working on exciting programs and all these different things. So when we're all in there, it's bustling, which is pretty neat. We like to Spencer is on his way in, who's part of the trails crew here pretty soon. And you know, besides the heater going out once and having frigid fingers typing one day, it's really been wonderful to have the space to work.
Good.
Sarah, is that?
Good to hear.
She did all the hard work setting it up, so.
Good, I'm
Yes,
glad
Sarah's done a lot of work on making it habitable and then also setting up some of the arranging for the IT stuff and just making it functional for our staff. So
Great. It definitely is needed still, I'm sure. I listened to a presentation from Janelle at Feather River Hospital. I can't remember her last name, but she gave a presentation to the chamber about everything that Adventist Health is doing on this ridge, and they are doing a lot of, her list kept going and going and going. One of the biggest things is they are revamping and remodeling the center at Neal and Skyway. So it will become more of a urgent care or immediate care or something like that. So when she was done, we all in the room just kind of went, take a breath. It seemed like a lot. And I just want to say I do appreciate PCC coming and giving us an update, even though they didn't have enough time for questions for the community center. They do have a Valentine's dance at the Elks tonight, and they all really wanted to be there. So, but I think the pictures are really cool considering where it started with the first drawing. It's come a long way, and I'm excited about what that's gonna do. And my next question is, we had the strategic planning meeting in 2019, and I'm just wondering what the update is on the strategic plan.
It's been scheduled at committee level, I believe. I'm sorry to interrupt you, on the 28th of this month. So the committee and staff's working on it, and if we make some good progress, then subsequently it'll eventually get to the board.
Okay, thank you.
Under board comments, I'd like to just point out that, as a follow-up to Mary's commentary about the PCC presentation this evening, if you have some questions after you've read the material and everything, I'm wondering if, I'm just throwing this out here for all of us, as well as Dan, our district manager, if we have some series of questions that we want our staff on our behalf to then give back to PCC, should that be run through one of our standing committees, like Parks and Recreation Committee perhaps? Because the ultimate goal, I believe, is PCC wants to rebuild something and eventually turn it over to us as the recipient. So I'm wondering if that's a good relationship for that committee. I don't know.
I'll mention the way it's structured right now is we have staff and we do have Mary's sits on that as a participant observer with us on that. In fact, she's been more of a participant on some of the meetings than I have. But the idea was that once we got to this stage, these are all new. I haven't seen these since the very rudimentary blocky drawings that we saw December or so, or November even. So these are all new. And I think at this point, what makes sense, if there are questions, it makes sense to send it my way. And then I can forward it to them. At some point, it does become two probably primary committees will tussle with this. One is finance, to look at sort of what those costs are for us long-term operations and revenue. And then also kind of our Rec and Park Committee to look at how it might be programmed or other partners we want to have involved with it.
I would make a suggestion too, if once the shovels hit the dirt, that perhaps we create an ad hoc committee to work with them. If we're going to inherit this, I think we should be involved in somewhat of the nuts and bolts of the building. That's my thought.
The thing is, Steve, they've already committed. You heard the commentary tonight. They've already hired somebody to proceed ahead with the final design of the construction plans and then, I guess, process a building permit. Yeah, but what my point is this. I'm more concerned about, they're not going to do any outdoor stuff. They're not going to do any landscaping or anything like that. If we're going to become a final recipient of this, seems to me landscaping, there's a direct relationship with that and the building too. And I'm wondering how far they are into this now, because if we don't, I don't know what our question is going to be until after you've read everything and you run them through our district manager, but it seems to me that once we have better knowledge and all this in place, we may want to offer or consider at this level, policy level, whether or not we want to commit to a joint venture with them to do the landscaping while the building's being constructed. I don't know. I'm just talking at this point because this is not a decision item. It's just board discussion under board comments. But do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
I put it this way, just to keep us on the side of staying the substantive discussion of it, is feed those comments and concerns to me. And then I think that will give us an avenue to start that dialogue. We had at one point regular meetings with them that have slowed down. They've stopped. So we need to get it back on that so we are well informed. I think prior to that, I was keeping you guys in the loop as far as where we were in process, but I think it's time to restart that. Oh, microphone.
District manager also give them to Mary as our representative to PCC.
I would strongly suggest it comes to staff, just so.
Just staff, okay.
Yes, absolutely. So I can share it with Mary, but I think I want to not create the second someone forwards a comment to somebody else, we're in Brown Act territory there. So let's run it through staff. That's how it should be run.
Sorry, I can tell you what I know is their board is very excited to get this project as far as it is, and they are very looking forward to fulfilling their fiduciary responsibilities to spend that insurance money and that senior center money on this complex. So they're very, very excited.
Okay, my comment, switching gears, just kudos to, I guess, the volunteer staff, pulling all the broom at Paradise Lake. The trails look a lot clearer, probably a little bit more to do, but the ground is soggy, so they'll probably won't even need a weed wrench to just pull up.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank PRPD for the opportunity to go down to the Special District Leadership Academy. It was informative and a wild ride down there. We had two of our presenters couldn't make two of the four. One because the train was canceled on him, and then the plane was canceled on him. And the other that had a tree fall on his house. But it was informative, well put on. We had 65 students. Real diverse too. Cemetery districts, fire districts, Parks and Rec. Yeah. Oh yeah, there were mosquito district vectors. Yeah. Overall, it was a good trip. And that brings us to adjournment. Till our next regular meeting. March 13th at 6 p.m. right here.